Hello student, today I am going to take the class on the topic Karnataka Anti-Conversion Bill. This is the part of the current affairs, and so I have chosen to discuss this Karnataka Anti-Conversion Bill before you. A student, as you know, previously a state of Gujarat, MP, UP, Himachal Pradesh also enacted such type of anti-conversion act. But why so much din and bustle when this Karnataka anti-conversion bill was passed in the Legislative Assembly? Because there was, on the one hand, the government wanted to pass anti-conversion bill, and on the other hand, there are so many Hindu elements who destroyed church property, started hooliganism, obstructed prayers by Christians. So the passage of anti-conversion bill with this untoward incident brought this anti-conversion bill in the limelight, and this bill has become the talk of the town. So student, now I will take up as to what are the important ingredients of this bill. Now, I just to remind you that this bill has not been introduced in the Legislative Council because the government has no majority, fearing that this bill may fail. So the government has not introduced this bill in Legislative Council. So once a bill is passed by both the houses of Assembly or Parliament, and then if given assent by President or Governor of a state, then it becomes into an act. Now it is at the stage of bill because this has not been made, or this has not become an act. So what is its purpose? The purpose is the bill prohibits conversion from one religion to another by misrepresentation, force, fraud, allurement, undue influence, coercion by any fraudulent means, or by marriage. Next, nor shall any person abet or conspire for conversion. Those who abet or conspire for conversion, they are also liable for punishment. But there are certain exemptions. What are those exemptions? Who reconverts to his immediate previous religion as the same shall not be deemed to be a conversion under this law. For example, suppose a Hindu has become converted and converted Muslim. Now if he wants to come back to his original religion, I mean Hindu religion, then this will not be deemed as conversion. This will just a return to his home, ghar wapsi. Complaints can be lodged by the family members or any other person who is related to an individual and who is getting converted. The person who is getting converted, the family man or the relatives can approach to police station, to the court, to collector, and can lodge complaints against those who wants his relative to get converted into another religion. Now, what are the punishment? A jail term of 3 to 5 years and a fine of 25,000 rupees for general categories who have been converted. Suppose a forward class, a person belonging to forward class, I mean Brahmin, has been converted to another religion, suppose Christianity. Now for that, the punishment is 3 to 5 years and a fine of 25,000. But if the conversion takes place amongst SC/ST communities or women or minor, then what will be the quantum of punishment? 3 to 5 years, 3 to 10 years, and fine 50 to the tune of 50,000 rupees. A provision of compensation of 5 lakh to the victim of conversion by the person attempting the conversion and double punishment for repeat offences. Students, there is another provision that suppose a person has been converted by way of fraud, misrepresentation, coercion, allurement, endorsement, and if it is proved that the person who did all these things, then what will happen? 5 lakh rupees will be extracted from him, and that rupees will be given to the victim, the person who got converted, the aggrieved party, and 5 lakh as a compensation from the person who got converted. And for the repeat offences, the amount will be double. Marriage conducted with the intention of conversion can be declared null and void by the family court or the jurisdictional court. Suppose where there is no family court, there may be jurisdictional court in every district, and jurisdictional court or family court is empowered to declare the conversion, the marriage, null and void. Why? Because the marriage has taken place for the purpose of conversion. Students, now this law has been made stringent. This law is now cognizable. What is meaning of cognizable? Cognizable means an offence where the police can put the law into motion. That means police has right to register an FIR, first information report, against the erring person. There are two types of crime. One is cognizable and another is non-cognizable. In the matter relating to non-cognizable offences, an aggrieved party or person will have to take recourse to court, because police is not empowered to act in the non-cognizable offences. But in matters relating to cognizable offence, police is fully empowered to take law into motion. That means to write down, to register the case against the erring person, and then we will start investigation process, and after the completion of investigation, police will produce charge sheet in the jurisdictional court, and after the trial the court will award punishment. If not found guilty, court will acquit the erring or the accused person. This is the process of law. Now, the district magistrate must conduct an inquiry through the police on the real purpose of the conversion. Any person intending to convert to another religion will have to appear before a district magistrate 2 months in advance. The district magistrate will get the inquiry conducted and will find out what are the reason for the conversion, whether there is a ingredient of coercion, allurement or inducement, force, temptation involved or not. These things will have to be inquired into by the inquiry officer. Now, not informing the authority will result in a prison term of 6 months to 3 years for person who convert and a term of 1 to 5 years for those carrying out conversion. This bill also speaks of the punishment for the person who wants to get converted, and before the conversion, if he doesn't inform the district magistrate, then he will also be liable for punishment for 6 months to 3 years. And those carrying conversion will be punished for 1 to 5 years. So, what we see, this is the stringent law. The person who wants to get converted must inform the district magistrate about the conversion within 30 days and must appear before the district magistrate to confirm his identity. Not informing the district magistrate will lead to the conversion being declared null and void. Once the conversion is confirmed, the district magistrate will forward all documents to revenue officers, to welfare officers, minority department, backward classes, and they will in turn take a step with respect to the entitlement that the person may receive in terms of reservation and other benefits. Now, the another points to be covered in this lecture is rationale behind anti-conversion law. What are the rationale? माने औचित्य क्या है? Threat of forceful conversion. The supporters of anti-conversion bill argue that in India there is always a threat of forceful conversion, and because of threat, so many people from weaker sections or tribals or scheduled caste have been converted by missionaries, by theologians of Islam, by Sufi saints. There is another problem of allurement, inducement, and third is religious conversion is not a fundamental right. So, the supporters of anti-conversion laws say that according to the judgment of Supreme Court, the right to religion, which has been included under Article 25, what does this article say? That everybody has right to profess his religion, to have his free conscience, to propagate his religion. But propagation of religion doesn't cover the conversion, and this is not a fundamental right. Now, what are the criticism by the opponents? Number one, Article 21 of the Constitution guarantees individual the right to marry a person of one's choice. Number two, Article 25 gives freedom of conscience, practice and propagate the religion of one's choice. Number three, Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights mentions that everyone has the right to religion, including changing his faith. In the case of Lily Thomas and Sarla Mudgal, the Supreme Court confirmed that religious conversion without a bona fide belief and for the sole purpose of deriving some legal benefit do not hold water. Salamat Ansari, Priyanka Kharwar case, 2020 Allahabad High Court gave the verdict that the right to choose a partner or live with a person of choice is a part of a citizen's fundamental rights of life and liberty. Next, several states like UP and MP have already brought strong laws against forced conversion. Next, view of opposition parties. A coalition of 40 organizations of minorities, youth, Dalits, women and human rights organizations held a protest in Bengaluru demanding its immediate withdrawal. Number 1. Peter Mercado, Archbishop, described this bill as a threat to the fundamental rights of the Christian communities. The bill undermines the position of an individual to make intimate choice of who their partner can be and what religion they must practice. Several human activists also termed the bill anti-women as it robs them of their choices. 31st December has been declared as the state Bandh in the whole Karnataka by different associations. Now these are the protests against the anti-conversion bill. Now what are the conclusion? The bill has not been tabled in the Legislative Council because BJP could not muster a majority in the upper house, number 1. While several states have laws that criminalize conversion on the basis of force, fraud, inducement, allurement, the trend has been to include marriage as an illegal means of conversion. It is needless to say that the idea of presuming that a conversion has or is about to take place alongside an interfaith marriage is patently unconstitutional as it interferes in the right to privacy, marital freedom and freedom of belief. Right to propagate one's religion under Article 25 doesn't include the right to conversion, hence every effort should be made to stop conversion of a person by means of allurement, fraud, misrepresentation and inducement. Students, what we see, there is no problem when it comes about the force or the involvement of force, inducement, allurement, temptation, coercion for the sake of conversion of a person from one religion to another. But when it is linked with the marriage, then it becomes problem. Why? Because then this anti-conversion bill impinges upon the right to privacy of an individual, and that right to privacy has been guaranteed by our constitution under Article 21. Right to life also include the right to privacy, and here is the question that the Karnataka also joined the band of other states and enacted a regressive law aimed at policing the private life of a person. This is not a good omen for us, and simultaneously some ultra Hindu sabotaged church property, obstructed prayers by Christians. So this is not good for us, and our country or its government must try to solve or to control these ultra people so that the amicable environment should not be disturbed. We must achieve a society where our mind is without fear and head is held high. There is no sense of fear among the citizens of this country, and that's why our constitution has been made, so that everybody is equal before law and everybody is given the equal protection of law, where there is no question of discrimination. So students, by this conversion bill, when it entangled the clause of presumption of marriage as an advancement of conversion, and the previous 2 months notice to collector, and after conversion one notice or information to collector within 1 month, all these provision impinges upon the fundamental right of the privacy of a citizen. So government must check and counter these ultra groups so that our society is not disturbed. Thank you very much. If you like this video, please share and subscribe. Tell your friends that lots of videos are available for students preparing for competitive examinations. Just write down AJIS Academy on YouTube and then open the playlist. You will find many videos for competitive examinations. So please boost up my morale. Thank you very much.